Could you survive for a week if modern systems collapsed? Medieval villages were self-sufficient for centuries, without electricity, internet, or markets. In this video, we'll discover 7 secrets of lost community wisdom that could save lives in modern crises. Today, most of us depend on complex supply chains to meet our basic needs. When a natural disaster, power outage, or economic crisis disrupts these chains, modern societies can quickly descend into chaos. Think about the Texas snowstorm of 2021. Just a few days of power outage left millions of people without clean water, heating, and food. Yet medieval villagers managed to survive in much more challenging conditions, amid epidemics, wars, and famines. How? Thanks to strong community structures and practical wisdom that most of us have forgotten today. Here are 7 methods used by medieval villagers. 1. Circular resource management. While our modern society operates on a take-use-discard logic, medieval communities understood that everything existed in a cycle. Nothing was waste. Everything was a resource. When an animal was slaughtered, not just its meat, but every part was utilized. Skin became clothing. Bones were transformed into tools. Blood was used as fertilizer for soil. Wool trimmings and yarn pieces were collected and used as filling material in new garments. Old clothes were torn apart, used as patches, transformed into children's clothing, and finally used as fuel. Archaeological excavations in a medieval village in northern England show that even in 100-year-old settlements, almost no garbage was found. Everything was reused. Broken pottery was crushed and used as filler material for new ceramics, in building insulation, or in road construction. In the modern world, we know this approach as the zero-waste movement or circular economy. For medieval villagers, this wasn't just environmental consciousness, it was a survival strategy. In a crisis situation, communities that eliminate the concept of waste can be much more resilient. 2. Collective labor system. Today, most of us work in specialized jobs. We specialize in one area and pay for our other needs. In medieval society, however, there was a system known as Bèse, or corvée. In this system, villagers regularly gave their labor to each other. When a farmer's house was being built, the entire village came to help. During harvest time, everyone worked together. When a bridge was being constructed, all hands moved together. This wasn't just a favor, but a system of mutual dependence and obligation. Today, I help you, tomorrow you help me. This unwritten social contract was the key to survival in a fragile environment. Medieval records document how neighbors would plow and sow the field of a villager who fell ill, how a widow's house was repaired by the village, or how the entire village would build a new home when a family's house burned down. Without such solidarity, a single misfortune could have been the end of a family. Today, time banking and skill exchange systems are reviving this old model. During times of crisis, the sharing of professional skills and labor solidarity can be the key to quick recovery. 3. Layered food security. While modern agriculture often relies on monoculture, single crop, medieval villagers never put all their eggs in one basket. Village fields were planted with dozens of different crop varieties. Crops that matured at different times, were resistant to different climate conditions, and grew in different soil types. Food security consisted of 3 layers: agricultural areas, cultivated and regularly maintained fields, semi-managed areas, fruit orchards, nut groves, and managed pastures. Wildlife, areas for mushroom gathering, hunting, and harvesting wild plants. This layered approach provided a safety net in any disaster situation. Drought might destroy crops, but wild fruits and mushrooms in the forests could still be accessible. Archaeologists discovered that medieval villages deliberately grew crops in different soil types and at different elevations. Today, permaculture and agroforestry movements are rediscovering this ancient wisdom. Studies show that food systems based on biodiversity are much more resistant to diseases, pests, and climate change compared to monocultures. 4. Interseasonal storage techniques. Medieval people were masters at preserving food for months, even years, without refrigeration. This was the key to survival during famines and long winter months. One of the most common techniques was salting and drying. Meat, Fish and some vegetables were preserved without spoiling by using salt or sun drying. Salt is a natural preservative that prevents the growth of microorganisms. In villages across Turkey, Northern Europe, and the Mediterranean region, salted fish or meat served as a life-saving protein source for families during poor harvest years. Fermentation was another powerful technique. Sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, kimchi, and fermented dairy products were both long-lasting and nutritious. Fermentation not only preserved food but also increased nutritional values and provided natural probiotics. Underground storage was another ingenious solution. Root vegetables were stored in sand or straw, in underground rooms or cellars. These rooms provided a relatively constant temperature throughout the year, preventing freezing in winter and excessive heating in summer. Archaeological studies in Scandinavian countries show that some underground storages preserved potatoes, carrots, and turnips for more than a year. Staple foods like honey, fat, and grains were preserved with special storage techniques. Honey has natural antimicrobial properties and can remain unspoiled for hundreds of years. Grains were stored in oxygen-free environments, in pits lined with clay. Archaeologists have found grain silos buried 200 years ago with the contents still edible. In the modern world, during power outages or supply chain disruptions, these traditional preservation methods could save lives. Food dehydrators, fermentation vessels, and simple cellar systems are solutions that can easily be implemented in today's homes. 5. Water management and use of common resources. Clean water was, then as now, essential for survival. Medieval villages were established around water sources, and water management was the shared responsibility of the entire community. Rainwater collection systems were common in villages. Water flowing from roofs and other surfaces was directed into barrels or cisterns through wooden gutters. Some villages built underground water channels and storage pools, effectively managing seasonal rainfall. Water resources were shared, but protected with strict rules. The Tribunal de las Aguas, Water Court, in Valencia, Spain, has been operating for over 1,000 years and regulates water distribution among farmers. Water scarcity is an increasingly major problem in the modern world. Rainwater collection, gray water recycling, and community water resource management are valuable lessons we can learn from the Middle Ages. Organizations like Tarun Bharat Sangh in India are rebuilding traditional water harvesting structures to make communities resilient in arid regions. 6. Knowledge transfer and education. In the Middle Ages, community wisdom was transmitted through apprenticeship systems and oral traditions rather than formal schools. Children learned the skills necessary for survival by participating in the daily work of the family and community. A farmer's child would learn not only how to sow seeds, but also how to predict weather conditions, how to assess soil conditions, and when to harvest different plants. This education developed a deep understanding of adaptation to the environment. Guilds and artisan groups ensured the preservation of special skills. Basic crafts such as blacksmithing, carpentry, and weaving were taught during long apprenticeship periods. Songs, stories, and proverbs helped preserve information even when written sources were unavailable. Today, this type of practical knowledge transfer has largely disappeared. Movements like community skill sharing and wisdom of the masters are trying to revive this lost knowledge. Organizations like the Folk School in Maine are increasing community resilience by teaching traditional crafts and life skills. 7. Community solidarity in times of crisis. Medieval villages developed complex social systems to support each other during crises. Village chests, or poor funds, served as a common insurance for difficult times. Each family contributed to this common fund during good times, and those in need received support from it during crises. There were community protocols for crisis management. Who would save what in case of fire? Where to take shelter during floods? How to provide isolation during epidemics? All this was predetermined knowledge. Historians have documented how villagers organized during the plague epidemic in the 14th century. Isolation houses were set up for patients, systems were created for food and medicine distribution, and survivors took responsibility for caring for the children of those who died. Today, such community solidarity systems are regaining importance in dealing with natural disasters. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, community organizations called Centros de Apoyo Mutuo, mutual support centers, emerged. Even without official aid, these centers cooked meals by establishing solar-powered kitchens, built water filtration systems, and worked for community health. All these historical lessons maintain their validity in modern crises. Research shows that communities with strong social bonds recover faster after natural disasters and other crises. During the critical 72 hours before official aid arrives, neighbors and local communities are often the first responders. How can we apply these secrets to modern life? Today, many communities are achieving impressive results by adapting this ancient wisdom to modern conditions. For example, Cuba's urban farming systems were developed in response to the food crisis during the petroleum embargo in the 1990s. In cities like Detroit, urban farming networks transform abandoned lands into community gardens, providing both food security and strengthening social bonds. Here are some practical steps that can be applied in modern life. 1. Join a local food cooperative or community-supported agriculture program. This both supports local farmers and provides a reliable food source during crises. 2. Create a small food storage in your home. Long-lasting foods, water, and basic necessities are valuable even during short-term disruptions. 3. Set up rainwater collection systems. Modern versions can even be used on apartment balconies. 4. Establish mutual aid networks at the neighborhood level. A simple social media group or regular meetings allow you to know who has what skills in times of need. 5. Acquire basic skills and share them. Practical knowledge such as repair, food preservation, first aid, and basic construction is valuable both in daily life and in crisis situations. In the modern world, the concept of community resilience is gaining increasing importance. After the 2011 Japan tsunami, villages managed with traditional yui, mutual aid, principles recovered faster than communities with modern and isolated lifestyles. Researchers have documented that social capital is as important a resilience factor as physical infrastructure. As economist Elinor Ostrom demonstrated, when people work together, they can sustainably manage complex resources without government or private sector intervention. Even national emergency agencies now emphasize that communities need to be self-sufficient during the first 72 hours in major disasters. Today's great challenges, climate change, resource scarcity, economic inequality, are problems we cannot solve alone. But as medieval villages showed, when communities act together, they can survive and even thrive in the most challenging conditions. Despite the complexity of modern life, the basic principles remain unchanged. Diversity provides security. Circular systems are sustainable. Knowledge is critical for survival. And most importantly, we are stronger when we are connected to each other. Perhaps this is the greatest lesson from medieval villages. True security is not about building higher walls or accumulating more resources, but about creating stronger communities. Managing common resources wisely, sharing wisdom, and supporting each other in difficult times. When you return home today, ask yourself, what would you do if you had to spend a week without electricity, internet, or markets? Do you know your neighbors? Do you have basic skills? Do you have resources you can share with your community? If your answer to these questions is no, perhaps it's time to rediscover the wisdom of our ancestors. Because sooner or later, each of us will face a crisis. And when that moment comes, our true wealth will not be the money in our banks, but the people around us and the wisdom we share, just like in medieval villages. If this video added value to you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please share in the comments what you or your community are doing for self-sufficiency. Perhaps you'll inspire others.